product marketing is a very collaborative effort, and I think people underestimate how collaborative it is. And before you go ahead to suggest quick wins, you want to make sure that you're putting the right people in the loop. You're going to product and really understanding how long it will take to actually get this quick win done. And you're going to sales to see if it makes sense. And you're going around and making sure that everybody is on board.
You are listening to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, the product marketing community that gives back. I'm your host, Louise Liu, Product Marketing Hive, and this podcast is supported by Product Marketing Edge, a technology product marketing consulting firm. In this episode, Attah, Product Marketing Manager at Rayda, shares her thoughts on how to execute your first 90 days as a solo product marketer. Let's dive into it right now. Hi, Peace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Louise. It's great to be here.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your product marketing journey.
Okay, so I graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's in political science, but I also fell in love with fashion around the same time. And so I really started my career from customer service in fashion. And it was really going well until I decided to switch, moved from fashion to retail, and then sort of landed myself into marketing comms for a finance company. And then when I was working at that finance company, I did some kind of product management activities because we started building an entire product and I was helping with the features and was creating plans to market the features and trying to release the features to the market, like the product itself to the market. And then I realized there was something called product marketing, which I wasn't exposed to as much at the time. And so that's really when I decided, okay, you know what, I want to do product marketing. And so I took a course and pivoted. I started looking for my first job in product marketing, which I got, and found out that this is probably the best career for me. So here I am in product marketing today.
Great. I'm glad to hear your passion for product marketing.
Yeah. And I think the background in customer service really helped my journey because that understanding of customers and also content made it easy for me to transition into product marketing.
So you are based in Nigeria and working remotely for a US company. You have experience working for companies in Nigeria and the US. Do you have any noticeable differences you would like to share?
Yes. So the biggest difference is the market. So what I've noticed is taking a product to market in Nigeria versus in the US is very different. Even though the target audience could be the same, the GTM approach would be different because the channels would be different, the triggers would be different for the audience in these two different markets. And we also see differences in, maturity of the market. One market might be very problem aware and be ready to use a product, and then another market might be not very problem aware. And so there's going to be a lot of emphasis on education for that market. So very recently, I was working on a campaign for operations managers, HR managers in the US. And within Nigeria, if I'm going to be trying to target the same people, operations managers, HR managers, I would probably use LinkedIn as my major channel. But in these other markets, in the US market, I'll be thinking LinkedIn, but also adding Reddit, because Reddit is a big channel for the US, but in Nigeria, it's not as popular. Most people are not on there, especially this target audience. So it's the same people, but the way I would approach the channels would be different. So this is the biggest difference that I've seen. And that's why research is always a huge part of my process, because of course I can't understand what the difference would be in one market versus another if there's not that initial research and understanding the customers, their logic, and the pain points and all of that, and all the other factors in the market, including existing players in that market. So yeah, the biggest difference has been the market for me. Things like the culture or the professional opportunities or every other thing has been sort of the same. And those things depend more on company growth stage more than any other thing.
From your experience, what are the unique challenges you face as a solo product marketer compared to working within a product marketing team?
Okay, so just like for many solo product marketers, the big challenge I face has been that you have to do everything, part of being a PMM, because many times when I've joined the company as a solo product marketer, there's still that learning curve for the rest of the team to understand my value and the things that I can do versus the things that maybe I'm not supposed to be doing. And so I might end up getting sucked into like PR and doing a lot of content when I'm supposed to not be doing these things. And so honestly, it's been an intentional journey to educate the team and say, okay, you know what, this is what I can do. This is the areas that I own as a product marketer. These are areas that I can support the team on. And these are areas that I don't have any business doing. Like I'm going to probably need to be in the know, but I'm not going to be driving. And so I have an entire document where I try to break this down for my team and say, this is what it's going to be, so that there's a clear understanding of what I bring to the table, what my strengths are versus areas where I'm just able to support and not own entirely.
So our topic today is this 90-day plan. Why do you think it is important for product marketers to develop such a plan?
Yeah, so for me, when I haven't used the 90 days plan, I end up getting onto the job and everybody's like sending things my way. Before I can figure out what to work on, how to get started, I'm already bombarded with so much. So it almost feels like I'm put into a reactive state from day one, and I'm reacting to all of these factors, and everybody's giving me things, and I'm never able to own the role. I'm constantly feeling overwhelmed or feeling lost, right? So a 90 days plan would help to give some kind of control, because what it's done for me is give me control over my first 30 days, my first 60 days, my first 90 days. I'm able to say, okay, I first need to understand this and that and this. And so there's sort of like a process of flow to the things that I'm doing. It prevents that overwhelming feeling of, oh my God, what am I working on? What am I supposed to be doing next? Because I know what I'm supposed to be doing next. I know that I'm supposed to understand the business goals. I'm supposed to understand what my expectation is in the team. I'm supposed to understand who is the product for. I'm supposed to know what are the competitors. I'm supposed to know what is the sales team like, all of these things, right? Because I have a structure. And what a 90 days plan does is give structure and also allows you to sort of own your role as a PMM instead of being that person just reacting to stuff, because they're going to keep coming. Like the longer you wait before creating a plan for yourself, the more overwhelming it's going to be.
So let's talk about the first 30 days. What are the key things a solo product marketer should focus on?
Yes, for the first 30 days, I always focus on number one, to understand the business goals, because product marketing is a strategic role. It's not like designing the website or doing anything that we think is cool. So when I get the job, my first thing to do is to understand the goal for the business. Sometimes if it's a startup, like they would want to say revenue goals. And so understanding this changed the way that I would approach product marketing initiatives. If customer retention, then that would also change the way that I approach product marketing initiatives for that first 30 days that I get the job. And then the second thing would be to understand the expectations of me in that role. How do they see me contributing in that big picture for the business? And that is really important, because even if I go ahead to do really great initiatives and really great things, but that's not the expectation the business had. They are not thinking that that's what I would do. They think that they want me to do something else, and that for them is what a win is. Then I would have wasted my time doing, something that just doesn't match business expectations or their expectations of me. And then also conducting a lot of research. It's obviously not going to happen once in the first 30 days that I'll be able to conduct every single research, but that research gives me the ability to start forming an idea of what the product is, the customers, and be able to make little inputs. If I don't know anything about the product or the customer or the market, then that becomes a lot difficult for me to do, right? And then I also ask a lot of questions, because after some time, the work begins to pile up. If I'm able to ask a lot of questions, then I can start getting answers on time. And of course, you can ask questions, write intelligent ones, if you're doing a lot of research. So that's what I would focus on in my first 30 days.
You mentioned conducting in-depth research during the first 30 days. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so my approach to research always goes from internal to external, because when I get on the team, I want to understand what the team thinks of the product, what the team thinks about the customers, the business. And a lot of times this kind of research can be missed, But I always try to do it this way because when I talk to teammates about the challenges they have with the product currently, I talk to the product team, the sales team, they give me feedback that might be slightly different from the kind of feedback I get when I go and start talking to customers externally. And so I try to do this kind of research. Sometimes it doesn't need to cover every single thing. It just needs to cover enough that I can get started on, especially when I already understand the business goals and my expectations. And so I'm going to move my research to help me understand how to get started with these business goals. If the business goal is to get new customers, then I want to understand our perception of the product. How many customers do we have internally? What percentage of these customers convert versus those that book a demo or try the product for free, etc. And then I try to go outside externally and understand what customers are looking for, if our product solves that, if there's little tweaks here and there that we could do, right, to make it a better experience for them. So yeah, I think that research is really, really powerful. But of course, you need to take your time to do it because you can't cram everything in 30 days.
So, what should be the main focus in the next month? And how is it different from the first 30 days?
Okay, so for the next 60 days, for the 31 to 60 days, the major difference there that I've seen is you need to start mapping out your quick wins, and of course start engaging with customers, because from in month one, I always avoid talking to customers. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but I try to stay away from it. And this is not popular opinion, because I know that some people say go straight ahead and talk to customers, but I try to not do it because I feel like I'm not as informed to go and have a meaningful conversation with a customer. So I prefer to just learn as much in my first month, and then in the second month, I know that okay, this is what I can do. These are the quick wins that I can work on. And this is the kinds of questions I want to ask customers. I want to ask this. And of course, my questions now are created because I have enough information, because I know enough about the challenges they might be experiencing, the products, the competitors, the market in general, right? If I don't have all of this information, it becomes difficult to go and have a very meaningful conversation with customers. So for me, month 2 is about quick wins. Like, it's time to start mapping out your quick wins because people are looking at you and waiting to see what you could bring to the table.
Can you share some examples of quick wins that product marketers can execute in their first 60 days?
So before I talk about the quick wins, it depends on the product and the growth stage. And so the most important thing with quick wins is always to pay attention to what the business considers a win. So if the business says this is the expectation of you, this is their goal for the next 6 months, then it's obvious that anything that's different from these things, from their goals and their expectations of you, is not a win. It might be easy, it might be quick to implement, it might be a nice to have, but it's not a win. And so even though you do these things, it's not going to translate to any good representation of your skills. It's just going to be something you did. And so for quick wins, it's very important to go back to that point and think, what is the impact of this quick win to the business goals, and how does it impact the expectations that the team has of me? For a sales-led product, for example, things like updating sales materials or updating research data can be very impactful, right? Because if the entire sales team is working on research from 2 years ago, then updating that research would make a lot of difference into the way that they approach, sales activities. The same thing with materials. If the materials are updated, then updating these materials can be very helpful. And then if it's a product-led company, then things like optimizing onboarding flows or re-engaging dormant customers can become very good as well. Because if the company has said we want to generate more revenue within this time to this time, and you say, okay, let's go and re-engage customers that have not been using their accounts for a while and get them back to a paid plan, or people that are on free and get them to pay. So this can be a very easy way to generate that revenue instead of maybe creating an entire marketing plan and going to acquire new users, right? This is easier. You can simply do it with an email. So it will depend on the product. It will depend on the stage. But also, when you're thinking of quick wins, it's important to pay attention to what is considered a win for the business. Because if the business is not thinking that is a win, then even though it's quick and it's easy to do, then it just doesn't count as anything for you as a PMM. So it needs to be that whatever you're working on is aligned with the business goals.
Can you tell us a little bit more about developing the strategic point of view?
It's very, very important for a product marketer to have a strategic point of view, because the work for product marketers is strategy, especially the higher you grow in your career. If you're very new, you can get away with, leaning on someone for support and getting information on what to do, what to work on from this other person, maybe a manager. But especially if you're a solo PMM, you're the only one in your team, and so you have to have a strategic point of view for how you want to take the team, for things you want to work on and why. And it also helps to determine how seriously the rest of the team takes you. So the thing is, for you to develop one, like a strategic point of view, you need to have a lot of information about the product, the customers, the market, the business. You need to know what the goal is and the entire picture, because now this helps you say, okay, this is what I know, and this is what I think we should be doing. This is how I think we should be taking the direction of product marketing initiatives. These are the focus areas that make sense. These are the pillars that I want to start working on, and then stand by it, right? Being able to just make a suggestion and stand by it and know that it could go well or it might fail, and be able to just say, okay, if this goes well, fine, and if this fails, it's also fine. It's a learning. But you should not shy away from having a strategic point of view.
What should product marketers be looking ahead to beyond the first 90 days?
Yeah, so after the first 90 days, or like right as you're crossing that mark, the focus for me has always been to start creating processes that are scalable for long-term work, right? Because in the first 90 days, you're sort of experimenting at the same time you're as you're learning and you're researching. And so some of the quick wins that you're going to implement might be experimental. And those quick wins would tell you, okay, what should be the focus for long-term projects? Because if something didn't work at all, then you probably would just kill that and know that, okay, that doesn't work at all. But if something you implement as a quick win turns out to be really good, then maybe that becomes one of your focus for long-term work. And so I start trying to develop like messaging frameworks, product marketing frameworks that I can use, especially depending on the kind of company it is again, templates, so that when I want to work on stuff, I just go back and pick out a framework. It is scalable. It is easy to use for multiple projects. But also I like to create a roadmap for myself. So I'd want to, at this point, understand the release schedule for, products that the product team they're working on. I want to understand when to start planning for a launch, a go-to-market. What can I squeeze in between the time I'm having to plan a go-to-market or a product launch and any of these things? And so having a roadmap for myself really helps me to think ahead. If the business has already set goals that this is the goal for the business, then that roadmap can align to these goals. And at any point I'm saying something's not aligning, I can easily figure it out, right? Because if the goal is to achieve X thing by this date, then if I'm not able to achieve that, then I'm not doing a good job as a product marketer. And so I need to be sure that the things in my roadmap, the things that I'm going to be working on can actually drive these business goals. And if there's a reason it cannot, be able to communicate that way early, or at least fine tune my roadmap.
So, do you have any final thoughts you would like to share with fellow product marketers?
Okay, so one thing that's really important to note is being able to build confidence and resilience in yourself. For me, talking to customers helped me build this. I do have a very strong customer service background, so it's not as challenging for me to pick up a phone and call a customer or reach out to people on LinkedIn and request to talk to them. I do that a lot. And surprisingly enough, people do respond and have conversations with me, and I get to learn a lot about the product, right? So doing this it always has given me the confidence to talk and share opinions, because I'm someone on the team that is very close to customers. And when I'm saying something, it's never just from the top of my head. It's always based on this kind of feedback. So that knowledge that what you're saying comes from some kind of data that customer has given you would help build confidence. But also there's sometimes when things don't work out and things fail. And so you need to be able to build resilience and know that, okay, that didn't work out. Let's move on to the next thing. right? Because it's a strategic role. Product marketing is very strategic. You need to constantly think of the next step. What happens if this doesn't go well? And also this role of PMM, especially when you're solo, can help you grow really faster. But it can also slow you down if you're not the kind of person that can manage the amount of stress that comes with being a solo PMM, because that's a lot of pressure for the company to say, we want to launch this and we want to achieve these goals, and you're the key driver of a go-to-market. So that's a lot of pressure, especially when you're doing it alone. What I've done is to find mentors that know better. I have multiple mentors. And honestly, I don't think I'd have gone this far in my career at such a short period of time without these mentors. So my tip would be build confidence, build resilience, find mentors that can help you. And even when things don't work, just keep going. Also, don't make assumptions. Always share anything, any ideas, or after you've done some kind of research. It's better to do the research and then come to the team and say, okay, so I talked to this customer based on XYZ. I'm thinking we should do this. And also set clear expectations, keep stakeholders in the loop, and keep learning.
Great. Thank you for sharing your insights with us today. Peace.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I enjoyed every minute.
Thank you for tuning in to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, a product marketing community that gives back. Check out our website, productmarketinghive.com, to join our community, meet fellow product marketers, and access free resources. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and give a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice.